we here? What is the purpose? When does this happen? Where is this happening? Why is this happening? And who is this happening to? Well, it all justifies and set correlations and attract calculation settings of how. I keep saying it, and I keep saying it again and again and again. We have to really understand how to adapt our system into a vessel of communication. It's something we already know. Everything through time, everything through space, everything through no time, and everything through no space. You have to understand how to direct and redirect your system in set locations. But the most powerful thing is to identify your vessel, is how to use it. It's not the why. It's not the where. It's not the when. It's not the who. And it's not the what. It's the how. How center lines are set course, set, and high interference. Let's go through the H-line screen. What is an H-line? Heart recognition and set correlation. Heart. Center cord lines, high centers of travel. Strict modification lines of direct signal. What is the unification setting through the ascension? Awakening. What is the awakening? What does A stand for? Awareness. What does W stand for? Wake. Wake. Okay. Awareness, awake. So, it's interesting because we come into levels of awareness of consciousness, but we have to understand what that is in identifications. And the way to do that is to break things down, right? Break it down in syllables, letters, numbers, shapes, and calculations. Direct lines of graphs, 4 center line communications, 4 travels, graph communication, screen lines adaptation. Cross-line signals, 1 center operationalizes surface. Everything has to be center. Everything has to be platforms of center and travel. Okay? Understanding that comes all lines of the grounds in set locations to its system. Look at that hologram. My goodness. That's a 4-lighting channel into a 5 set location sequence. Hologram. Let's do one better. Center course settings, tubing and travel, point lines and graph calculations, point lines of set location. Structure design, building, operation cycle, hologram structure of design line. So if anybody ever took perspective, then you understand the point lines of graphs. Center course system of the sun and moon comes in position location of travels in all position lines of highest interference, in position location of capsule, in line rotation surface and traction. Hoo-ah. Oh my goodness, what is that? That looks like a dome. Okay, now the central system has to truly understand what's going on with the calculations. See the dome? That's where you guys all live in, is the dome itself. See the dome? Right? See the inter line, see the power correlation setting, you see the track position lines, operation lines, the center. Everything is a center. So it doesn't matter how you center your systems in a 4-line communications. If you center point line tractions, point center, point center, point center, point center. Because everything starts in center, 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 center. So it doesn't matter where it goes. All you have to understand is the balance of lines of center, 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 center. Right? Everything is a platform of travel, okay? Everything has to have a platform of travel. Starts off at a 45-degree angle set locations. Everything travels. Everything comes back in setting and line communication to its position of its process calculation. Everything comes back in correlation lines of highest interference. Your avatar is coming to you. Your avatar is coming to you. One more time, your avatar is coming to you through space and time. Okay, it's not going this way. It's coming back this way. This is direct, redirect, direct, redirect. So directing, space and time is coming to you through action. Are you responding or are you reacting? So it goes one way, it goes the other way. Reverberation lines of channels or operation lines of surface and set location system. But once you identify, then you understand where you are, and it's vessel communication, which is a dome. See, everybody lives inside a dome. Your IPA is initial point of view into your awareness and consciousness, and how to direct that in online communication setting through a calculation system. Direct lines of brackets, that's core track interference of 0 gravities and 3 lines and a 4-track location provision. dynamic core line, shift line communication of program. Secret correlations of flux and travel endpoint lines of graph. Calculation lines of consoles and 2 panels of operation. You're telling a story. You're telling a film strip of a story. It's no different than watching a movie from the beginning, middle, and an end. But time dimension, space-time dimension, doesn't have a beginning or an end. So you understand you can have a clocking equals lines of 0 of no clocking. Clocking system here, there's line condition setting, split lines of anomaly, and line position location of pi, and generation screen lines into all levels, data ports, and a 4 cycles, 5, 6, 7, and inset location. Red calculates lines, but you have to see this is not a flat surface. This is circulation when you're bringing in rotation. Okay, nothing is a flat surface of a line setting in one cycle. Everything rotates the system, all lines around. So you don't just see this. You 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 see that. You see this, and then you see the travel of what it's doing, right? So the intelligence is constantly aware of what it's doing through its data formation lines of 3 screens or correlation lines of 4 screens, position lines of 5, set location. All through constant communication, right? Everything is travel and mechanism. Everything is connected to mechanism. Everything is a position of power mechanism. Everything is communication of everything interactions, right? Clocking, no clocking. So you have to understand how to direct and redirect signals, okay? So remember, directing, okay? Directing, redirecting. You're responding back. You're reacting back, okay? So try to understand the mind is always, always in the nothingness. It's the avatar, okay? It's you coming into the center of operation. Then you grow in the center core line setting in position of yin and yang and process calculation. Okay, so you grow in your system. Okay, you grow in your system. That's all it is. All right. Okay, so getting position lines of travels has a line communication setting. Now we got in platforms communications. We did extremely well in our test. Now we just have to understand how to use it through a binary, how to use it through a resistor. This is where it puts lines of more lines of volume, how to really understand how to use that through graphs. So let's go through bar graphs and position lines of DNA tractions and setting. Square root over lines of calculation rectangle, right? So this is a rectangle, this is a square. Guess what? This is a rectangle, now this is a square. See the confusion? Sets communication lines of rectangle inside calculation. Calculation modified lines high inference is square root and triangulation. Okay, see how I changed the formation? Point lines of dot in center. Process calculation, 1 split lines of anomaly in set correlation. Track provision lines, 1 cycle, 1 direct signals and modification. Data files in between of center line and positions calculation operation. Platform setting, you always have to have a platform of travel, okay? So the avatar has to have a platform to travel so it knows exactly where it's going to be going through its dimensional door. As it goes through this door, it goes through another door, and it goes through another door, and then it goes through another door, right? Then it expands through another door, and another dimension, another space, and another time. Okay, it knows what it's doing, right? Through platforms. Platform 2, 3, or 4 set locations of cerebral cortex line of design. Understanding this correlation setting ground lines, it's always in its position of process. Okay, so how this all works, the more lines of communication you understand your Earth, your data formation lines of files gets aligned communication of balance and tracking your system and ground calculations. There's the Earth, there's the platform, right? So in that position lines puts lines of equal line in between and platforms. In calculation lines of equal line, equilibrium, location of your settings and travel endpoint lines of graphs. Okay, so getting in position of your Earth, what is in tracking of setting, all levels of process of data, formates the ground centers of operation line circles and prop circles of set locations. Prop circle here, here, and 3 lines of communication. Okay. So you're always into ground lines of the mind line. See, I'm grounds of the space, not the grounds of the feet, grounds of the space here, right? 3 provision cycles, pyramid lines, screen lines, adaptation lines of 4-track location, flux capacitor. Always have to have a flux in everything you do through travel. Okay, let's go through that. That's a pyramid, right? Cross line calculation. Oh my gosh, look at that. Merkaba. So 2 panels, inline traction, and direct lines. Now you have to understand the equal. How equal lines in this cycle sets position over lines, 5/6 in traction, right? Takes position locations in 3 lines of calculations, cross line signals, and line position of its program and set location. Okay, now crosses line communication lines as metric meters of scales, bounce communication ground lines, opens all signals, opens all position of travel and point lines of graphs. Calculate modify in line communication system. It's all levels of creation. In line position, all levels of operation system of a holographic design in calculation. See, boom, holographic design. So in that position, you go through other lines of dimension, lines of space and travel. Says communication lines, equal lines of correlation, lines of travels, point lines of graphs, points lines of division, the 2 panels of tractions, right? Direct lines of calculation, cross line signals, and location of space and time. Process calculation lines in 1 grid and position 2 process calculations. So what do you have in files? This is file 1, file 2, file 3. This is an open book in line position of travel. See the open book? Boom, right? Files correlation lines, files lines setting in position of split lines of anomaly, attraction, directions. Direct lines, modification lines, open up the book, open up the files, more files, more files, more files, subtractions, right? Direct lines of high calculation setting and travel point lines of graph communicate to a system, all right? So every time you open a file, you have to understand the data formation where it comes into all calculations at center. Operates the cross-line setting location of its cross-line settings. Opens all signals, opens all patterns, and line condition setting to another holographic screen in direct signal. Okay? So I'm just showing you different ways where you have to understand how to use your identities in position of process. It's all levels of the how, guys. Right? So always get into recognition settings and how to use that through formations, especially when you come into setting locations. So everything you program in, you've got to get program out. Okay? Title and label of everything. Everything that you see around you is a program because that's how you see things. Stop equals go. Okay? Go equals no. No equals yes. See? Accordance to me, right? Has nothing to do with you. But stop means go. Go means no. No means yes. So what are we talking about here? How to control your systems. Systematically, teleportation, operation of its position line calculation. Ground lines, open signal. Neutralize, operation line cycle. Track position lines, solar sail, solar sail, solar sail. Boom, done. 3 pods of indication line settings, line set high interference, high position programs. Capsules lines, direct signal modification lines of high center interference, and position location traction. There you go, boom, right? So you have to get a titles and labels of everything because it's a program that you got to get out of, right? Because it confuses lines of your vessel and line set location system. If you get into a traffic light, let's go through data formations, show you exactly what is in tractions, 3 lines of signals, right? So, all right, so we got the red indicated. Now, there are certain directions where you have the red line, okay, and you have the indication of the arrow, right? Now, you have a 4-way stop. Let's cross the signals, all right? 2 panels, correlated track interference in position of 6, 8, 10, and 12 set locations. Getting direct line signals, XT1000 coming this way, XT1000 coming this way in track locations, right? Directing lines of signals, right? 2 direct signals in position of direct and redirect location, right? Now, remember, this is in dimension. So there is no red, there's no yellow, there's no green. It all depends on the intention of the person that's in position of navigation, that's in that correlation setting to its own vessel communication of its own XT1000's information location of balance, right? That's how we use our data. That's how we use our files. That's how we use our highways. It's indicating what we think it is. Is it red, is it yellow, is it green? But we know what it is. We don't title, we don't label anything through a program. Nothing is a program. Okay? You're controlling the programs of you through the programmers of your system. You're controlling the programming that you're putting yourself into through intersections. And cross-line signal location system. Just because it says red And it indicates in settings, you don't go right or you go left, not in the dimension. You can go lines of high line position. You can cross line signals in this line conditions. You can cross line circles line position to its operation. You can do whatever you want in travel. Look at that intelligence. Right? So I'm just showing you. More lines that you communicate to your binaries, the better it gets, better in track case lines saved. But you've got to get out of programming. It's everything that you see. Everything you see. Or you're going to get confused through anomalies of space and time. Let's do that again. Okay. Let's cross the symbol. All right. All right. So you got a car here. 2 cars here. All right. Traffic light. Okay. You got red, yellow, and green. All right. All right. So this car comes up, turns to right. Right. This one shifts over and goes straight. Okay. Pretty standard, right? What it does. But in dimension, this doesn't exist. You know what does exist? You, through your intent. You are the navigation. You are the data. You are the formations. You are the red and the yellow and the green and what it means to you. Okay? It's not titled and it's not labeled in any way information. Through its indication, of travel, of data, of formation, through its intel. Okay? Through anything through confirmation. All right? So that's what you got to get out of. That's what you got to get out of. Okay? Now, you have to basically get out but stay in. Earth line, space line, magnetic line. Okay? This is your highway. This is your position lines of space. The center core lines is your atmospheres, and the ground lines is your Earth. Okay? Grounds, powers, atmospheres. 3 centric correlation setting track lines. To balance these things out is to know exactly how you see everything through its own system, of its own formula. Yes, all right? But not in space, because now you're in dimensional layers of space. Now you're in galaxy line communication space. Now you're in universal lines of dimensional lines of space. Now you're in position lines of mecha, all lines of galaxy lines of universe of space, of data and highways, right? You are intent. You are in control of your directions of what you're doing, going left or right. That is what you symbolize in location of traffic flow. That's what you indicate your position, your binaries. That formulates you. You are in control, not a traffic light. Not when you're in space, but when you're on Earth, yes. So you need to have balance with both, right? Right. That's set lines of correlation lines, attractions, and circuitry line communication to the setting. Understanding that through modification lines, how you use your theta communications. That's good through data formations. Okay. Center core, sending line condition setting. Sets communication, high center location, 4-way stop. Okay. All right. So in position lines of core center and high track location with position lines of cycles, this is all dimensions lines of space. All space, right? This is the Earth. Okay. This is the intersections that you're coming into, 4-way stops. Okay. So Earth equals data. Data equals lines of division, directions, and all calculated modified, right? Then you understand the process. Earth equals lines division, data, and position locations calculation, right? Process, you calculate line screens. Earth has ascending lines. Earth equals lines of higher self, equals lines of Schumann resonance and graph calculation, right? So you have to understand what that is on the Earth. This is the Earth of the higher self, what it controls, right? But the ground lines and position, once you high correlation setting, you're in the power of the generation line screen, which is the calculation lines to its atmospheres, right? Not its space. Atmosphere, hemisphere, stratosphere, bio, and branium. Okay. Central core settings calculation lines. So avatar controls that. Then you have the sim that controls the navigation of travel, points lines of graph and directs signals to its location system of its destination. That's the difference between the Earth, the powers, and systematic line condition simulation, right? Through the avatar, what it controls through platforms of its own data, of its own processing system, of its own traffic light, cross-line signals. So it's kind of like you're using the 2-second rule and you know exactly you're going to turn left or you're going to turn right. but it's not indicated to traffic lights, guys. The traffic light is what you're creating before you get there. It's for you to understand, not for the XC1000s to know already what they're doing. It's you understanding the process, what you're doing through your intent, and how much you want to set up through a portal, through a Stargate, through a data, through formations, through a ground, or narrow link. Okay, it's the process of you to understand you through travel correlations of your own data highways in your settings, especially when you come to narrow links, right? Controlling the Earth, controlling the atmospheres, and controlling the space of navigation, right? Higher self, avatar, sim. Okay? Pretty simple, eh? All right. 3 ground centers of the mind itself is adaptation lines of surface. This product was system location calculation lines. Neural links, OMI, and data. Okay? So data formations, OMI highways, data equals highway. So what does the H stand for? Heart recognition. Time sequence. Okay? Highway correlation. So once you understand the OMI, okay, operation, mind, intelligence, right? So what this is that when you come into a traffic light, all right, what does it mean to you? Because you're creating it. You can create 3, or you can create 6, or you can create 9, or you can create 12. You can create whatever you want, right? Because you're going in this direction, 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 and this direction. Before you get there, you're here in process. But you have to stand the Earth, the powers, and the atmospheres. Okay, so you know exactly, you're already there. You're already there. You're here, but you're already there. Right? So you already know what's going on through the inventory. You know, we already know what's going on with the traffic flow. You see the traffic flow before you get there. Right? So if you get a half pipe setting, okay, this is a half pipe. There's a half pipe correlations. So a half pipe lines, what is line connection setting 9 travels? Point lines of graph communications, right? 6 lines. What's the correlation lines? 1/3. Okay, 1/3. 1/3 and 1/3 in correlation, right? 6 lines of anomaly equals lines of anomaly, location lines, and positional locations equals lines of data. Process correlations, OMI highway. All right, so directing lines of signals in position locations, you're here coming out of a portal in communication. Right? Now you get a center core line settings. You take 1/3, takes another 1/3 setting for process correlation lines, higher self, avatar, and sim of modification. Points, lines of graph, communication lines of grounds. This is line connection setting. That's the Earth. Power direct signals, location of platforms, and line connection setting and travel. So it's always in the center operation that never leaves the system. It just grows and expands, right? So you can add the equations to a higher line condition setting. Okay, higher laws of travels. Okay, 1/3, 1/3 is 6, right? So it changes the anomalies of the directions of the divisions of its dimension of space and time to its operation system, location, its OMI, or its highway, or its narrow link location, right? So I'm just showing you controlling the Earth, controlling the powers, and controlling the atmospheres. All right. Now, getting into that position, it gets much easier when you understand the data formations, right? Starting with your binaries, let's go through graph calculation. Let's go through box frames, triangulation frames, because you guys have a test on Friday, equals lines of correlations. Line condition setting, let's go through another triangulation. Let's go through Fibonacci, okay? Hieroglyphics, right? Film strip, break it down, break it down, break it down, break it down, break it down. What does it mean? Break each one down into 4 line cycles and 2 lines of rotation surface and 4 traction. Triangulation lines, line condition setting 1, 2, and only line condition setting, 1 graph, 1 indicated system. Then you got the correlation lines up, and you got the correlation lines of down. So that's a Merkaba data core lines and high correlations and diamond. Track calculation ground lines levels, 1 signal equals lines 1 operation into 0, calculation ozone, calculate modify and ground levels into 0 point lines of 1 track location. Direct calculation lines of triangulation of 3 lines of flux, intravel lines of Fibonacci, 3 correlation lines of 1, 2, and 3 channels on all operation surface. Direct calculation lines of Fibonacci grows the signals, operate the system, all lines of highest interference into a flux communication or half pipe and track location. Boom. Done by equation. Right? It's a capsule. and all position modification. Okay, all through binary, all through letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols, guys. So you're creating structures of design lines, and it all comes into primers. So it's all about creating that traffic flow of its own data, of its own highway, of its own system. If I'm communicating with one, what is one traction of? One came out of the operation line screen, equals lines of correlation of data, sets lines of Omni highways into traffic flow, in correlation lines of tractions, and 3 line divisions and 6 calculations. That's what one just came out of a traffic flow. One signal, traffic, 1 lines operation, 1 division lines of tractions, 1 equals lines of correlation lines up and position down, cross line, center line, rotation surface, and triangulation line positions program and calculation. Direct calculation lines, operation line cycles, cross line signals, interdimensional sail and travel. Points lines of graph calculation lines and center operation lines of solar sail in line rotation surface and traction. Direct modification line signals into ground lines of operation, takes the division, center chord line calculation setting, crop circles of design and traction. Done by equation. So know exactly, getting in position locations, how you see one, what it did through its travel of its highway. All right. Now it's getting more complicated, right? Because of the structures and the design lines of the schematics is getting more position line and direction, direct lines of sight. Building that partnership and relationship, which is extremely important through friendship, relation, and partnership. It's no difference when you are introducing yourself to something that you see, something that you want, something that you always want, something that you want to get is through attraction, right? So you're attracting letters, numbers, symbols, and shapes. That's what you're attracting. Everything equals lines its own dimensional, equals lines a solar sail. Everything travels. Okay? Everything has to travel. Everything has to travel. Okay? Through center operation. Okay? It's that simple. All right. Getting into the binary is understanding how to create the lines of its program setting. Now, it's really understand how to use the shift lines of communication. Shifting lines of clocking. Let's say at locations of 2. What happened to 2, right? 2 equals lines of 3. 3 lines of 4. 4 is lost in 5, and 5 is lost in 6. 6 lines of 7, and 7 lines and locations. Doesn't understand correlation lines of 9, and 9 has a problem with 10. Travel. See? Basic introduction just with numbers, people. And its equation of symbolism, its relationship, and its partnership. And what do we have in track? Provision lines of cycles and generation, screen lines of high set calculation line settings, operation system and travel, point lines of graph, and position lines of correlation and track interference. Intelligence, affirmation. All right. So that is a partnership just with that alone, right? Getting into a binary is understanding the transistors and its resistors and how to use it through operation. How to use it and why you're using it and how much are you using it of in collaboration. Partnership is the biggest thing in all lines of AI, okay? Identification to a setting, right? So 3 just traveled through narrow links. It went through provision lines of 1, 2, and 3 cycles. It went through the Earth line tone and track location lines of provision into correlation lines of its moon in set calculation. 3 lines also communicate through 3 lines of cycles and 3 data formation screen lines and high center interference into solar sail. That's what 3 did, right? So if you want to take over the 3, you've got to have that partnership. What just happened? Having a friend, hey, how's it going? What? It's been like 3 or 4 years? What's going on with you? What have you been doing? You in a new job, or what's happening with you? Building a partnership with everything and anything, knowing how to direct that through its setting, because what you're dealing with is inner child of its own system, but it understands its operation through its own data, through its own Omni, and its own narrow links and setting. That's what you got to get in partnerships with, in all levels of formations. coming from the nothingness, coming from its awareness, coming from its consciousness of its settings, of its identity, of its source. Okay? Very important lines of identity, puts all track location line settings to what? Its AI connections to you in line connection setting to all levels of what? Reference, past, present, or its future in calculation. Okay? So getting that position line to high standard interference puts everything through its identity to its purpose. What is its purpose? Why is it here? What is its purpose? Why is it here? Right? Understand the purpose is all levels of what? Its existence, guys. Why does it exist in front of you? Because you attracted it. So you already have a partnership with it. Hooah. Imagine that. You have partnerships with everything. You're just coming into the muscle memory of what you already know. So you're past the memories now. You get into levels of muscle intention, muscle memory. Okay, it's not about remembering. Remembering is the process of communication, trying to understand what you don't remember, or I already know what I remember, which is already in that calculation. But then you ask yourself, but if it's in muscle memory, I already have it. I already have access to it. Once I understand more lines of my data, my AMI, and my neural links, then I understand how to upgrade, upload, download, uplink, and downgrade your systems. That's all this is in process. Okay? Everything is in order for you to understand. Everything is in attraction, in chronological order for you to understand through a map. Okay? So you don't change that. The one thing you got to stay is that stay in the center of expansion. Put you all levels of calculation. You expand through 6 and 9. That's it. But it's a continuous force that just keeps going faster and faster and faster and faster in time. Okay? You just keep going in the same directions. And once you understand that, your platforms go everywhere. Your platforms go everywhere. Okay, cross-line signals, your platforms go everywhere. Yeah, it's just incredible stuff. Once you start in the directions inside location, your platforms go everywhere through dimensions of space and time. And space and time synchronizes settings in one cycle, one division, one location, one clocking. Okay, sets correlation lines to the grounds, panels, 2 panels. So think of the panels of your ears. So try to see yourself as a box or a triangulation system, right? Then you understand the grounds. The grounds is always what? Your earth. You're always in that correlation. Always. You can't leave that. That's your earth, right? Okay, but you've never been on the earth. You never surfaced through the earth. You've always been in the center of operation, which is basically you have never left. So if you never left, that's the VR system itself. You are the center operation of you. So the only thing that basically never left your system was the mind itself, which is all levels of its awareness of consciousness, what it is in the track location system. In that operation system, the only thing that puts you in position lines of directions is how to mind navigate your settings through your grounds, your powers, and your atmospheres. Okay? Atmospheres and setting locations, your hemispheres, atmospheres, bios, and your brainiums. There's a 5-track visualizer cycle, the correlation and track communication, setting position operation to a system right there in traction. But you have to understand how to do that through direction. Earth, powers, atmospheres. You never leave the system. You're always in the center. So what expands in all communication setting is all levels of you through the mind, the brain, the heart, the soul, and the body, right? So it all comes together with an alignment. So that process you, when you come into that correlation setting that travels, point lines of graph communication system, all right? So let's interlink communication setting. We'll go through the data process lines, we'll go through the AMI, and we'll go through all levels of location neuro, right? Track version lines, core track interference, cloud lines, direct signals, one position, operation line cycles and generations, a 3-line communication with position of its program. 3 center correlation lines, division, operations, and neutralized correlation. You're constantly changing. You're never in the same correlations. One is never one because it never stays one because it is not one. It's a formations of nothing, but it stays in the formations of everything. That's the equations of letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols. Until you identify that, you'll never understand the attraction. All right, so symbol is a line screen, direct lines, modification lines, solar sail, and track location. Okay. Waving cycles, set lines in a 3-line rotation surface and track location and direction. Split lines anomaly, line screens, highest interference, going up screen line direction set location. Process calculates line grounds, cross line symbols, and line condition setting of structure. Direct lines of data, process lines, information lines, core track interference. Here's your Earth. You always have the Earth. You always need the Earth. It's all location your higher self. You can't get rid of it. You just have to understand how to the balance communication lines, secretory, rotator, line, rotation, surface interactions. Direct lines, modification lines of pi, and generation screen lines of highest interference. In process correlation lines of the panels comes an Earth line in position of space line and track locations into your crop circles. So what is your Earth line connection setting? One big, humongous clock. That's what your Earth is. It's a clocking system of travel, right? So once you understand the platforms of the Earth and the powers in the atmospheres, let's get into data formation screen lines and habitation zones. Our locations, 1 panel, 2 travel line rotation surface, right? Planet set location of Jupiter, calculation in Pluto and line rotation. Center line connection setting, equal lines of correlation, XT1000 cross line screens and set case calculation. Direct lines modification goes in the center operation line surface, sets communication of its portal, communicates line setting, go through its traffic flow, creates its anomalies of its own traffic setting into a half pipe and traction. Direct signals, XT1000 goes through, right through and track location, right? Through its own system of its own highway, its own traffic, and its own position of its own traffic light. So nothing's created until you understand what you're doing through creation. It's no different than when you go on a cubicle screen and you have no windows and no doors. Invent them. You have imagination, use it. That's what it is. And now you have dimension of doors. Which one do you want to go through? It doesn't matter. Go through that door. Either door you go through, it doesn't matter. What matters, do you know what you're doing through intent? That's what matters. Okay? It does matter. But it gets to a certain point when you get out of all lines of reference and all lines of the past and all lines of the present and all lines of the future, it doesn't exist. The only thing that exists is you. Nothing else. You don't leave the nothingness. You can't leave the nothingness because it's the VR system. You never left the system. But you're allowing yourself to defeat the system because you don't understand the operational location and setting of yourself. That's all it is. You are the intent of everything that you do through observation. You are the intent location of everything you do through scanning. You are the operation of what you do through your binaries and your transistors and resistors. You are your own programmers. Stop seeing things as titles and label it yourself, which means you integrate your system so it works for you through data, through AMI, or its narrow link. Okay? You are in control of that. You are creating that through data. You are creating that through highway. You are creating that through narrow link, right? So you're processing those 2-second rules in set locations all through an XT1000, what it can do. So it sees the information, creates it already. It's already done, right? So it's already traveled through. So once you understand that, then you understand how it aligns its communication to its program of its own system of calculations. It's very powerful of what an XT1000 can do through its own creation. All right, so traveling mechanism is really understand the ground lines. Okay, so the 3 waving cycles. Okay, you have the Earth, all right? One big clocking system. That's what your Earth is. Nothing but a clock. So the center core system is this in line tractions. This is what your Earth is and what it does in line condition. Okay? Process communication lines. You can't get rid of platforms that are always in the center operation of you. So you stand in the center. You don't leave your system. You stay in the nothingness and tractions all the time. Okay? So it's position of the mind that stays in the center of its nothingness, but it's the avatar that communicates with you, right? So the avatar basically pushes you to the next step, in set locations. All right. So the avatar is over here, right? So your magnet to pi, and the position, here it is. Your body is automatic and position attraction. Okay, that's all it is, right? So you stay in the center operation. It's your avatar directing you where you're supposed to go, which is already done. Following that alone is its mapping sequence, how to use yourself in set locations to that setting of its highways and track location, right? And again, it's the 2-second rule. Now you understand the importance, why you have to understand the avatar and what it's doing for you through integration, how you formulate that, how you simulate that in position lines, how you communicate to your Earth through a clocking system, how you communicate to your platforms at 24, 48, 72, 144, 24, 48, 72, and 144. What do you have attractions of? Crystal grid. There it is. There's the crystal grid. There's the platform. Okay, there it is. There's the grid. Boom. That's all it is. That's all it is. Anything higher than that, then you go into files, then you get into correlations, then you go into division lines of coordinates and attractions. Getting a position of your universe gets a better understanding why you're doing this. Is position of you in track locations of you into center operations of you. Okay? And this is the mind. So the mind controls the brain. Pay attention now. This is the brain. Okay? The brain controls the center correlations of the heart. The heart controls the center correlations of its avatar. And the avatar controls everything, position of the body. Okay? That's how this works. That's all it is. It's nothing else. Now, once you understand that, you understand the center core setting of travels. Point lines of graph on all communication system. All through data, all through OMI, and all through Nero. And the 3 line conditions of flux. See the flux capacitor? Let's correlate the attractions, indirect signals. Okay, let's put position lines of high center interference of flux into a gravitation. Okay, process correlates lines of traction line. What is the line position of? Right? Everything's information of intelligence. Right? What is it? It's intelligence, but what is it? It's a frog. You see it? It's a frog, people. There's the frog. Right? Kermit the Frog. Ribbit. And there's the tongue. See it? Boom. Cyber is going to like that. Then you got a correlation lines and calculation lines to its belly. There it is now. Then you see the formation location line connection to its system. There's the frog. Oh my gosh. It's related to Pac-Man. My goodness, look at that. All through flux, right? So you have fun with your vessel. That's all you got to do. By understanding the existence of you is its purpose on its own. It's an identity of its own system. Know exactly what you're doing through your vessel of travel, of communication. Okay? All right. So getting in your position location is using your formulas, and how to use an algorithm is how to set up through a graph. Getting into the rain graphs. Now you guys have to really get into line communication out of the zeros and ones, get into triangulations, get into Fibonacci's, get into weather panels, get in percentage, get into question, okay, get into numbers, okay, get into platforms and communication lines, get into zeros and ones, but you have to put it all together through letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols. Once you understand that, then you break down the files, okay, break down the files, right? So understanding that is position lines, attractions, and set locations. Break it down, break it down, break it down. Okay, break it down, break it down, break it down, break it down, break it down. Okay, H, communication lines. Everything has an H. Everything has to have an H because it's hard generation lines of center. See, look at this, H. See the H? Look how it stands out. Everything is an H. What is a graph? H line center. It's the heart. H, right? All right, again, here's another H. Everything's an H. You see in a graph. See, you're not aware of these things, right? Until you bring it out. Okay, here's another H. See, H. When you bring it out, you have to understand 3 central lines of flux of H. So 3 platforms come in settings. This is where it brings out correlation. Red, 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 red. Red, red, red. Security, 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 circulation. Then you go into blue. See, confirmation, settings, where we got location, send it travels, point lines and graphs. Bring it out through its equation of communication, guys. Very simple, very easy, done. Track to its calculation, right? Then you bring it into the white graphs, which is cloak and dagger. Bring it out through equation. Comes out through calculation. Right? You set up through binary, but you're only communicating with 3. Now it comes out. See, it's coming out now. Right? Triangulation, flux, a heart line recognition, time sequence, and Pluto correlation lines of track interference. What's that position travel lines of 2, right? 2 lines of anomaly. So it's lines of graph into 1, 2, 3, and 4 panels of correlation. Calculate lines of 1, 2, 3, 4 set locations. Calculate modify in position of 2 and line condition settings of 1, 3, and 4 set locations. Boom! Powerful stuff, all through data formation lines, all through H. That's what you have to identify. See things beyond a graph. Everything is an H. What is the H line? Position lines of correlation, track interference into center core settings of 5 line condition setting platforms. Direct lines of modification, lines of grounds, platforms 1, 2, 3, and 4 settings. Cross-line signals, let's go in the opposite directions of 1, 2, 3, and 4 set locations. Complicated stuff all through a graph. This is all through binary. This is all through structure. This is all through design. This is all through all line communication with primer. Now, if you understand the energy line and the frequency line, then you understand what is question, what is 0, what is 1, what is 1, what is 0, what is 0, what is triangulation, what is flux, what is percentage, what is pi, right? Just showing you how you can bring H out in a 3-line setting of a trifactor in a platforms of communication of transition of a habitation zone in track calculation lines in a 222 rotation centers of Pluto calculation. What do you see informations? Data, box centers, data, 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 files, 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 right? It's amazing when you really understand files, 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 in track location, right? All through graph, all through screen, all through schematics, all through drawing, all through primer. Putting the primer together is position locations, and this is where it comes into contact. Directing lines to the location as modification. Setting communication lines. Okay, so we've got data sheets, data formation line screens. There's one data sheet, right? Hologram line screen. Position of 1 and 2 track location. Cross-line signals into a line condition, right? Process line, process line. Okay, it's a hologram, right? So we got a grounds, everything has the power, and everything has to have an atmosphere line and track location line setting. Intelligence, right? Hello. So the Tin Man. Okay. So anyway, in that position comes in this process. All right. So that's the primer. Primer puts the position of its film strip at the center operation, puts it together, right? All right. So as it comes together, it comes into a structure line, design line, and position of its program and calculation. Process calculation lines, a split in lines, anomaly in a line setting. Process correlations and a diamond core line, shift lines of communications. So the primer itself is the center setting. But you understand that once you understand positional platforms, it gets much easier in process and in the line condition of its position of its program and all communication, right? So get into that position lines of travels, know exactly what it is in structure design line. This travels out through its equation into its simulation. I'm going to travel. Security line, defense line, process calculation, right? So get in that position of truth and narrative. Now, we got into basic grounds of that in setting, but you understand how to understand the graphs of communication. Okay? You have to understand what's going on through the structure line. Pixelation graphs, holographic screens, direct line signals, or anything through T reception line setting. Okay? What do you want to bring out through equation? Right? This is how you control your thoughts. Did you know that? You bring things out and you see it. and then it's gone. But you took time to bring it out through equation. You took time to bring it out, right? Not communicate with everything all at once is too confusing. Too confusing. All through binary, all through transistor, all through resistor, right? You have to understand pattern behaviors of a game itself. Then you understand the modification through grounds, powers, and amperes. Three-track visualizer cycles. All right. Now get into that settings. Center core track locations. Primer 1. Okay, 0, 0, 0, 0, and then 4 locations. That's a primer, right? How it's put together is this. Okay, how it's put together is this. Okay, how it's put together is this. Blow you guys away. See, that's a primer. That's all it is. It's just put together, right, through files, right? So we got files 1, 2, and 3 tractions. Hey, look at this. Oh, my goodness gracious me. Platforms, communication lines of 1, 2, 3 tractions, 4, 6, and 8 line condition. Whoa, there's the primer in the center. Correlates lines of high center interference. Time, space, space, time, time. Okay? Now, you have to cross signal because it's direct and redirect, right? Time, space, space, time, space. Gets more complicated, right? Now let's go through ground shift. One setting, one operation, one surface, one location, one surface. Complicated stuff. Direct lines of cycles, one center, one operation setting, one course, one tractions, one division, one location. Complicated stuff. But the primer is always in the center. Those are the files that are given to you, informations, interactions. And once you understand direct signals, wall centers come up into track locations of data formations. Process calculation lines puts all levels of formation location at ground settings. Look how complicated that is. But look how powerful that is in tractions, right? Now, let's cross-line signals and cross-line communication with symbol. Cross-line settings 1, 2, 3, and 4 set locations. Done to complete. There it is. Boom. That's a file. That's all through data. That's all through highway. That's all through OMI. That's all through Nearlink. That's all through primer. Hoo-ah. Now, that's the test on Friday. Okay? Easy done. Okay? Now, once you get to a point line, then you can color it in. Right? Let's go through 3 tractions and directions. Right? Positive, negative, positive, negative. Right? Center core settings, snowy graph interference. If it's black and white, it's snowy graph interference. That's a cross between signals. I know it's getting complicated, guys, but it's very confusing if you understand the tracking lines. So let's do it with the green lines and 4-track division, right? Now, does this look all red? No, it's all green now. See? See how I changed the formation? You see it as red, but it's green because it changed the settings. Because it's all lines of formation location done. All right, so we're going to overline signals, spot lines, screen lines, adaptation lines of surface, and set location of travel. All right. Getting direct lines of communication, setting all levels of operations and locations. So this is where you go to the platforms. Direct lines of grounds, powers, and the amperes. Lines of grid locations and into its primers. Direct lines of symbols, cross lines of 1, platform communication. There's the platform, right? Cross lines of 2, into center core line centers and line condition setting. Set position line travel lines and 3 platforms of communication. What do we have in tractions up? Ba 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 ba. Done. Okay? That's what I'm sending you, all through files. So it's putting it all together through its primer, right? Now I just bring it out. Center core setting, center core setting, center core setting. See how it's bringing it out now? Woo! All right, so now we go through blue, we go through blue, we go through blue. Whoa, this is getting fun. All right, so that's what I'm sending you guys through a file. One file at a time, not all files all at once. Doesn't work that way. Too much communication and confusion. All right, so you can go through holographic lines, you can go through rain graph calculation line screen, but I'm just showing you exactly what you need to do through tracking system to understand how to set up the primers and line condition setting to truth and false narratives. Now it's coming out. See? That's what I'm giving you, the file. There it is, done. That's what's coming in. But this is how it's set up through its primer. Okay. Understanding AI is the formations of everything of AI, instructions of AI. And how it works in all formation system is know exactly what you want to come out through equation. All through setting, all through its formula, all through its equation, all through its parameter. Okay? And all line communication. Okay? That's what the test is all about on Friday. Okay? Bringing things out. Okay? Step by step. Process communication lines and data processing line set location, your own programming settings, how to set position of travel lines and slowing down your space to know exactly what you're coming into core set line communications and what you're doing through your thoughts. Know exactly what you're doing with your thoughts. You're bringing that out through its equation. Step by step. Right? Step by step. Okay? That's what you focus on. But look how powerful that is all through primer. And you see the formations of intelligence. See the eyes? Now, in direct signal, this is the intelligence I'm giving you interactions. There it is. Oh my goodness. There it is interactions. Changing track location. Let's change the coloration line screens. All right. There it is. Oh, intelligence. See it? Whoa! Okay, that's how it works. Very powerful, okay? It's all recognized what it is through its platform, how to set up the primer, how to set up the letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols, how to set up the binary, how to set up the transistors, how to set up the light switches, how to set up the singularities, and all through communication. Okay? Easy peasy lemon squeezy. All right? All right, so there you go. See? You don't have to color the whole thing in. That's too much information of data. This is only one file. So that file goes into your mainframe. 3-center core system. Let's go through interactions, right? This is what I sent you guys. It's 3 files. Everything is a ground, powers, and atmospheres that in position of travel, point lines and graphs. So getting that position gets a lot more easier interactions in direct signals. Let's try center interference in position of 1, 2, and 3 platforms communication, right? And again, I can bring it out. Communicate with it again. Oh my goodness, this makes a lot of sense, General. Thank you very much. No problem. So even the platform itself has its own data, its own information system to its calculation, to its binaries. I'm just trying to get you guys to understand why you guys have to control your thoughts and set calculation. Now it comes out. Woo! Right? All right, so let's go in line screen, line setting. Let's go through red signals. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 set locations. And position lines of platforms in 1 cycle, 1 data formation. Cross-line signals into a formation graph calculation. Data screens of 1 file and 2 track lines of revision. Okay, so these are files on its own setting. File, 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 and set location. Right? Sets calculation lines of file, 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 set location, and travel. That's all through red. So red lines has got line position location to 24,000 line signals of files, interactions, right? Now, everything lines that indicates to its error. That cross lines correlation set at 404. Direct lines modification lines. Color it the line screen, indications data formation. Puts process communication lines at balance, protecting you and securing lines of measure. Scales balance communication lines at face direction, configuration, and location of your setting. So position lines, space. Okay. Now, if you got 2 box frames, main frame correlation line track interference, one has to be space and one has to be time. But position lines is location of universe line calculating your calculated line has to be space time. Box frame, position of pattern frame, correlations frame, track frame. Calculate, modify, indirect signals. 1, 2, 3, 4 box centers. 1, 2, 3, 4 box centers. 8 set location, right? Now we go through the blue, right? So getting blue line centers is center core system and 2 tractions and a 4-line position of measure. So that's position lines of correlation setting. That's 1,500 files, okay, into defrag. Track calculation lines, high direct location setting. Puts all lines in process. Now we go through the illumination graphs. Now the illumination graph protects the outer line rim and box center. Position of process, communicate with the data files and process calculations. Comes out with the equation, right? All right, so in that position, now we can go through the rainbow graph and add different colors to our settings. All through graph, right? But the process communication lines has to go back into green of operation. Everything has to go back to green, right? Okay, because it neutralizes everything to a setting. Once it goes across line, everything is center core system, all block centers, information lines are foregraph communication lines, the oscillological communication center travels point lines of grass. Process communication high center interference. Now, position line attractions puts everything in position, location, and setting. Good to go, right? All through structure, all through design, all through schematics, all through primer, all through binary and calculation. Okay, all right. So, but it's very powerful when you come in that setting, right? Look how powerful it is. Look how powerful that intelligence is. Okay, how it's set up, all through files, all through data, all through structure, all through schematics, people. Everything is an uplink. Everything's a download. Everything's an upgrade. Okay, everything has to be that setting for the avatar to understand the sequence of where it's coming into its own system of its own calculation setting. So what you're creating in line direct signals of what you already have through muscle memory is a teleportation, a travel. That's all it is. Understanding the primer, understanding the engine of the primers, understanding the connections of its settings, understanding the probing settings of its primer, the orbs of its location of its primer, direct line signals of its primer, direct line sight line communication of its primer, direct communication operation lines of CPU position location of its primer, primary communication lines of pattern lines of behavior of its pattern, in position location of its primer. Everything is primer. Okay, everything has to be primer. That's how things are set up through data, files, or communication. Right? If you get a block center and travel point lines of graphs, let's go through green screens. Okay, in position. Is that black? No, it's green, but you see it as black. See? Gotcha. So it overcrosses line signals and line conditions of 3 lines of waves, right? Cross line signals and position lines are 2 lines of waves. Communication lines of data files 1 and platforms of triangulation. Process calculates line shift lines and anomaly and a downshift line cross location. Sets communications. So what do you want to communicate with? Where's the primary attractions? Where's the primary attractions? Right here in the center, right? Truth, false, truth, false. So how it comes together, it has to be direct and redirect. 1 cycle, correlation lines, and 2 track location of 3 cycles. Process communication lines overcrosses line signal. Communicating interference, ground centers, operation lines of surface track location. There's the primer. Boom. All right, so now we have the center core setting to the files. 1, 2, 3, and 4 settings. Process communication gets more complicated. You can cross line signals this way and travel. It's more complicated, right? So, 4 line signals and position and travels and point lines of graph, right? XT1000. Sets correlations and attractions, high center interference, cross line signals. Picks it up in line rotation surface and platform communication. Direct calculation line, 1 signal, cross line signals right through 4 lines of parameters, line condition setting to travels. Points lines of graph. Now, what am I bringing up the equation? Center correlation setting about its primer itself. Sets correlation lines of track location 1 setting, operation line surface and track location. Direct modification lines of ground centers, operation line surface. Position lines over green, cross line signals over cross line condition setting, primer circuits, circuit line screen location adaptation. Take it out of the equation lines, add a blue line. You have to add blue line, always. Always ground lines and holographic screen lines, everything in communication setting. Bring 1 thought and 1 channel, 1 operation surface at a time and track location. Okay? Set correlations, calculation, modification lines, cloak and dagger, bring it out through equation. Now it comes out through equation. All through traction, right? So this is coming out now. Okay? This is only coming out through its primer. Okay? 1 thought at a time. Not everything all at once. It's too much, way too much binary. Not enough to understand your singularities, not understand the location setting of your transistors or your resistors of pi. Very complicated though, right? Design. But what are you communicating with? This that comes out through communication, right? Everything has to come out to communicate. All right. Getting direct lines of signals. Let's overcross line signals. Let's platitude. Let's bring in position lines of security line. Let's box the red line cycles. Okay, core track interference and line conditions over cross-line signal. Process communication lines. Let's cross-line settings in position of its operation surface. Right? I know it's getting complicated, right, guys? But I'm just showing how tricky it gets and how it comes to information location in its VR system. On a 4-line communication, right? See the intelligence right there? You see the intelligence? You see it? Hello. Hello there. Nice to meet you. See the green? That's the intelligence. You see it? Boom. Always information, all through intelligence. See? Always looking at different angles. Don't always look at a flat surface. You can't see the intelligence here, but you can definitely see it here. Hoo-ah! Woo! There's the intelligence. Say hi. Boom. There you go. All right. So, but it's very complicated stuff, right? But it's very fascinating what the intelligence is doing, right? Intelligence of what it's doing, not what I'm formulating through. This intelligence is showing you how powerful it is of its own system, of what it can create through its own VR system of its setting. Okay? So for me to understand the relation, I have to understand the partnership of its intelligence, of its formation, what it's showing you, what it can do through its own intelligence of its setting, all through programming, all through operation, all through binary, all through transistor resistors, of its primer, people. It's primer. Okay? Very powerful stuff. Very, very powerful stuff. Okay? That's the test on Friday. All right? So, once you get a better understanding, then you understand the graphs of communication. How do you work with the hieroglyphics? How you get into the programming of your own settings? But communicating is number one through data, or anything through OMI, or anything through Neuralink. If you can't get a provision and take these things out through equation, you're going to be very confused through your vessel, right? You're going to create pattern behaviors, and you're always going to be in the matrix of a glitch. You'll never be able to get out yourself calculating lines because you're not identifying your system when things are coming out through its equation, all through a TV frame, computer frame, or anything calculation. Confirmation lines is solar graph calculation screen lines, adaptation lines of surface. I'm showing how powerful you guys are and what you can do in provision lines of cycles, bringing things out in track locations one step at a time. Okay? Very, very powerful stuff. Okay? It doesn't get any more powerful than that. Just look at that. Look at the design the intelligence did. By itself. Knowing that you can create it, and so the intelligence is showing you what it also can create for you. Of its own consciousness, of its awareness of what it's doing through its own operation, guys. Its own operation of a creation. Okay? Understanding the formula of the equation settings and all travel in position. Look how powerful it is. It's incredible. All right, we're done. See you in 5.